I did used to play Guitar Hero a little bit back in the day. It never made me feel this cool. The Artful Escape. This is a game that I played on Twitch. Link to my Twitch channel is down there. I stream Wednesdays and Fridays. I feel like I haven't plugged that in a little bit. Um, and I enjoyed this a lot, but that enjoyment is going to come with a fair number of caveats depending on what it is you want. It would be very safe to call this a story driven game. You are mostly there just to see how the story plays out and dwell within the world that it is created, which I found really endearing, engaging. I just liked, and I enjoyed a lot of the characters, and the way that things progress are really wonderful to experience. That having been said, while it could not inaccurately be described as having platforming elements and um, it's not even really Guitar Hero like sort of Simon like repeat the sequence aspects. Those are not challenging. They're not impossible to fail, but they are not challenging at all. So if you normally game for challenge, don't even bother, because this just doesn't do that. And in a way that made me actually question, should this have been a game? Like, given that the challenge isn't difficult and there isn't really much in the way of branching path, there's there's a couple of decisions you make early on that if I were to guess, if I went back and played, I bet it would only change some of the visual signifiers and not actually impact the narrative. That's my suspicion. I haven't gone back to check that, but I strongly suspect that. Then it's also not one where your choices drastically change the outcome. So it's a narrative story where the narrative doesn't really change and there isn't much gameplay. Well, gameplay challenge, barely at all. Not really all that much gameplay in the first place. Should it even be a game? My gut instinct is to say yes. And I don't have an easy time explaining why. Largely just because I can imagine sitting down and watching this. And I think I'd enjoy that. Because it has an energy that is kind of along the lines of sort of 70s, early 80s, sort of alternative animation kind of stuff. It has that energy to it. And also just sort of 70s era sci-fi, which tended to be little bit more psychedelic and a little bit less grounded, has that energy too. And I think if I watched this as a film, I would probably enjoy it, but I don't think I would have liked it as much. So while I can't fully quantify serious ways that it benefits from being a game, I still think it does. I haven't even really told you what the story is, and there's only so much I want to say. Basically, you start out, well, I say start out playing, you are playing for the whole time, a character who is a guitar player, and he is the nephew of this beloved folk singer. And as a result, the people in his town, as he's getting ready for his first public performance, very much want and expect and project onto him that he is going to do folk music like his uncle did. And that's not what draws his attention. He's drawn towards more psychedelic rock, progressive rock, really shredding on the guitar. But that's not what people expect of him. And he's grappling with that a little bit in a sort of get over yourself kid way, except he is actually quite young. So I think it balances that well enough considering how young he is. But then he gets taken up into a spaceship and encouraged to play exactly what he wants while he plays to aliens and interstellar beings, and it gets kind of wild. And here's the thing. I'm not a massive fan of the kind of music that this is highlighting, generally speaking. Big, bombastic, overblown, and, really, really extended shredding sequences. I normally don't go for that, but you know what? that kind of music benefits a lot from visuals like this. Interstellar landscapes, practically dancing amongst the stars, literally. This kind of music needs that. I think, honestly, just listening to it, it kind of be like, okay, yeah, no, that's fine. It's not really my thing. You accompany it with these visuals, oh wow, it hits so much better. Because these are the visuals that should accompany this music. And this is the kind of music that, I'm not going to say it's the only option you can have to accompany these visuals, but boy, it works. And that, to me, is the joy of this. That somehow, despite the interaction being very minimal and very hard to fail at, there's something that just feels good about pushing the incredibly simplistic button sequences to just have him play these epic notes as everything lights up and as the life forms on the planet itself just turn and look and get his attention and have these explosions of light around. Like, it just feels good. To me, at least. It's a very specific kind of energy that this thing has, and it might not impact everybody. But for me, it initially hooked me with how out there it was going, because it goes pretty out there pretty fast once you're out of the kid's hometown where he starts. And then it just keeps going. And it just has that energy of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy or Wrinkle in Time, and this more sort of cosmic trip, like the ending sequence of 2001: A Space Odyssey. That kind of, boy, the universe is wild, isn't it? Feel to it, and I enjoy that just as an energy, and it's an energy that benefits from this music, and there is some decent storytelling going on as well. The characters develop in a way that is not especially complicated, and you can sketch out most of the character arcs pretty much from the word go, but it still feels good to watch them on those journeys, and the voice work is pretty dang solid as well, especially from Carl Weathers, unfortunately the late Carl Weathers now, but he's in this, he's great, and it just wrapped me up. It wrapped me up and pulled me along into something that I have a hard time explaining exactly why, other than this just works for me. And maybe at least check out a trailer for it and consider whether or not it'll work for you too. Because if you think it might, oh, this was a good time. I enjoyed this a lot. I could see this actually becoming a comfort food replay at some point down the line. I could see that. Because some of my comfort food replays, like Spiritfarer is a comfort food replay, but that one also tears my heart out. So if I want a comfort food replay that won't emotionally destroy me at a few points, this might honestly become that. It's just, there's something nice about feeling epic without having to feel like the game ground you into the dirt. Like I've heard in the past people get look, it's fine if a game, wants to be easy and wants to be more accessible, but when it like presents itself as this big epic thing and like, oh, what you're doing is so difficult, the game should be hard. And I do understand that, but at the same time, I'm like, maybe people who either can't do or don't enjoy that level of gameplay difficulty, don't they deserve to feel awesome too? And I feel like this game might just be the answer to that. Is it difficult? No, absolutely not. Did I feel incredible? Yeah, I did. And I think that's real awesome. The Artful Escape. Have you played it? Have you seen it? Whatever. Have you interacted with this thing in any way? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Patreon pays the bills and enables me to do this as my living. Even if you can't help me out that way, like and share and subscribe. They all help me out, but don't worry too much about it. We take a relaxed attitude here, so you can just come on back next time you need a break. And now to thank my highest supporting patrons: Robin Moore, Zuma Lutfula, Goddess Elida, Trista Ashley, Oliver B., Melissa Peterson, Tarak, the thing that goes going to the anime, Jean Foray, Movie Turtle, Ulrich Bogdan, Loki Eris, Linda Walters, Jen, Auntie Kate 808, Becky Sparks, Phenobilax the Poodle, Tracy Scrabbit, Angry Casperol, Dave Hall, White Bearish, Rosalind Bennett, Pal Barabajagal, Lucy Wood, Dorm Mayhew, and Mira G. Thank you for your support, and consider supporting me as well on Patreon.